Deadly space radiation and rapid outbreaks of disease are just a few of the official NASA dangers that visitors to Mars will face. NASA holds a list of 5 hazards of human spaceflight that puts astronauts traveling to the space station, the moon, and even the red planet at risk. Humans are set to visit Mars in the not-too-distant future, but it won't be an easy trip. Living on Mars, even if only temporarily, will be difficult and dangerous. NASA is already working on returning humans to the surface of the moon, and Mars is the obvious next stop. But NASA's Human Research Program has warned that these spacefaring pioneers will face dangerous and potentially deadly threats. Worse still, NASA warns these dangers can feed off one another and exacerbate effects on the human body. Space radiation is a serious risk to anyone spending a long time away from Earth. Invisible to the human eye, space radiation is not only stealthy, but considered one of the most hazardous aspects of spaceflight. When you're on Earth, you're protected by its magnetic field and atmosphere. But when you go into space, you're at risk from ionizing radiation and are no longer shielded like you would be on Earth. If you spend around 6 months in space, NASA says your body will be exposed to roughly the same amount of radiation as having 1,000 chest X-rays. This puts you at increased risk of developing cancer, but NASA warns that it can also lead to central nervous system damage, bone loss, and some cardiovascular diseases. While you're being blasted with space radiation, you'll have to take on another difficulty: being a human. On a trip to Mars, astronauts will be more isolated and confined than we can imagine. Sleep loss, circadian desynchronization, and work overload compound this issue and may lead to decreased performance, adverse health outcomes, and compromised mission objectives. Distance from Earth isn't just bad in terms of isolation, but also in mission planning. Given this distance, planning and self-sufficiency will be essential to successful missions to Mars. Astronauts must be capable of confronting an array of situations with minimal support from teams on Earth. When you're on a spacecraft, NASA will do its best to keep it closed off from the hostile outside world. But by keeping astronauts confined in small and closed-off spaces, there are other risks that can appear.